Good morning. Happy Wednesday. I have had a lot of requests to discuss the Discussing Laws discussion of a defendant class lawsuit against Masshole Troll Mafia Discord server and all the people on it. And it's hard to give you a reasonable discussion about it because there are so many reasons why it's not going to succeed that it's hard to kind of put it into something that's easily digestible for people and understandable. But one real easy thing to do is look for real world examples of where this has happened before. Because if you think that Chillie is the first person who believes he's been defamed and has sued to try to stop people from defaming him, you're wrong. Now, when you look in the federal like FSUP, I don't remember exactly what you call them. If you look for case law on the particular subject, you're not going to find a class action defamation lawsuit where a single plaintiff has sued a whole bunch of defendants. You're not going to find that. Why aren't you going to find that? Ask yourself why you're not going to find that. Why don't you find it? And the reason why is because it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. There's a lot of reasons why it doesn't work, but it doesn't work for a lot of reasons. For example, Kanye West is in the news right now. Apparently, he said some things that people are saying makes him an anti-Semite. Great. That is probably defamatory unless it's true, right? And Kanye doesn't believe he's being anti-Semitic, so he believes that he has all the makings for defamation, right? He has a bunch of damages. Apparently, his net worth went from $2 billion down to like $400 million or something along those lines. I'm not entirely sure of the exact numbers. Don't quote me on it. But he has actual damages. He's been called an anti-Semite, which is defamatory unless it's true, and he's lost a bunch of money. He should be suing. He could be suing. I mean, if Discussing Laws' theory on class defendants is true, he could name a class of all the TV stations and all the TV anchors and all the YouTube personalities and all the YouTube channels and all of the discussion boards that have called him, or anyone on them has called him an anti-Semite, right? And he can sue everybody. Basically, he can sue half of the United States or thereabout for a lot of money. I mean, TV stations have money, media, the owners of or corporations that own these TV stations have a bunch of money, Turner Broadcasting. I mean, there's money there. He could recoup his money. And think about it. An attorney who would take this on a contingency basis, just the basic damages, just the actual amount of harm that's done to him is apparently $1.6 billion or so. Think about your standard 1/3 of that if it settles, right? Because this is what Chillie wants to do. That attorney would be looking like $500 million. Attorneys are going to take that on contingency. Let me tell you, we're a bunch of bloodsuckers. You dangle $500 million in front of me, I'm taking it if I can win. That's the problem. If I can win. And much like Kanye West, although to a much lesser extent, and minus the talent, Chillie's also a national figure. And you can tell he's a national figure because there's a whole series of YouTube channels that are devoted to him. He scored very high on the grifties. He has stated in court that he is a national figure. He's bragged about his YouTube following and his TikTok following or whatever. Instagram, I don't remember what it was. But he likes to go on and on about all the subscribers he had. So much like Kanye West, he is a public figure. And much like Kanye West, the people who are saying the negative things about Kanye West have protections, specifically protections under the First Amendment that attach, essentially read New York Times versus Sullivan. They have to, Chillie, much like Kanye West, would have to show actual malice. And actual malice doesn't mean you're being mean. It means that you know or should have known that what you're saying is false. And it can't be opinion. It has to be a statement of fact, not opinion. And calling someone an anti-Semite is probably an opinion. It probably is. I mean, I've shown you various cases, like the Maddow case, where what Maddow was saying was opinion. It was obviously opinion. I mean, Chillie doesn't have a case. Kanye West doesn't have a case. Kanye West can sue anybody and everybody. He doesn't have a case. Chillie can sue anybody and everybody. He doesn't have a case. He just doesn't have a case. Like, I'm sorry, if he had a case, I'd be like, oh boy, you better watch yourself. He has a case. He doesn't have a case. He doesn't have a case. If he had a case, an attorney would jump on it. If he had a case from the get-go on this, where actual money could be made, I would have been like, Chillie, let me represent you. Give me the smoke. I want the smoke. But he doesn't have the smoke. Like, he doesn't have the smoke. He doesn't have a case. He doesn't have a case. He could name every defendant under the sun, under the facts that he's alleged. He's not going to recover. Adding more defendants to it isn't going to guarantee him a recovery. If this goes to trial, he will not recover. I'm not saying that it won't settle. It could settle. I mean, Kate might get tired of playing around with Chillie, and Chillie might actually offer reasonable settlement terms, and they might settle. And in that case, okay, great. He parlayed his nuisance value lawsuit into a settlement. Congratulations. Doesn't mean he was right. It just means that he has a nuisance value lawsuit. But if this goes to trial, which I doubt it will even make it to trial, because I have a strong feeling it's going to get 12B6'd right the F out of there, i.e. a motion for summary judgment. 12B6 basically says that even if we accept everything that this guy said is true, he still loses. And I think that would be the case. So he doesn't have a case. He's not going to recover. Discussing laws, obviously doesn't know what he's talking about. Obviously, watch his video or not. He refers over and over and over and over again to a class of defendants who have committed crimes. You're going to be asking yourself, number one, what crime could they have committed that's at all related to intentional infliction of emotional distress and or defamation, and to which I respond, they haven't. And even if they had, what bearing does that have on a civil lawsuit? What bearing does that have on it? He obviously doesn't know what he's talking about. In addition, he says the only way you'll get due process, your notice and opportunity to be heard, is if you're a representative. And you have a constitutional right to due process. The due process that the court gives class defendants is the counsel to represent them, and the representatives who are going to fairly represent the interests of the class. And the court determines who those are, if those are. These are all things like Chillie can say, I want to sue this class of people, but he actually has to get that class certified by the court. The court has to say, oh yeah, this is perfect. Yeah, this is going to make things a lot easier to have this all adjudicated at once. Now, the reason why classes exist isn't just because there's a bunch of people. I mean, if there's a bunch of people, that's your problem, not the court's problem. Where classes come in handy is if it's the same nexus of facts and law that are common to all these people, and we're adjudicating it together is going to be fair and beneficial. It's going to lead to everybody getting the same kind of outcome. So in like where you have a class action where the plaintiffs are the class, you're going to basically make it fair for the defendant, because if each plaintiff brings the lawsuit in a different state, the defendant's going to have to pay out different amounts of money depending on how each state court adjudicates it, how each jury decides. It's so this guy with the exact same claim as this guy might get $50,000 and this guy might only get $5,000, right? And it's to even that out. It's to make sure everybody gets treated equally. It's so that the defendant can get the whole thing resolved at once in a fair manner where everybody gets paid out, proportionately, equally, etc. Where you see defendant classes is usually, like I said, where a class of plaintiffs, a class action where the plaintiffs are suing a single defendant, the defendant brings a countersuit against that class of plaintiffs. That's typically where you're going to see a defendant class action. Now, this is as rare as hen's teeth. This is very uncommon. And what the person who's suing that class has to show is that it's basically the same nexus of facts and law, and that it's going to be in the best interest of the court and the parties to adjudicate this as one big shebang. However, the whole idea of the classes that they're putting forward is stupid. It's not a tort. It's not somehow damaging in a recoverable way to Chillie for you to go to a website, a communications board, an internet real-time IRC chat board, a discussion board, and read what other people are saying about them. Just being a member on that board doesn't mean you've read anything about them. It doesn't mean you've said anything about them. The class doesn't make any sense. Where it would make sense would be like if a company was doing a pyramid scheme. This is an actual example. A company was doing a pyramid scheme where they were basically, each person was getting paid from the money that subsequent people getting into the company were paying into the company. So it's a rob Peter to pay Paul kind of situation, and eventually it's going to run out. Pyramid schemes always do, or at least to my knowledge, they always have. So the federal government being a slightly different thing. So a holding company for that defendant, or for that pyramid scheme company who has the assets and is trying to basically get everybody compensated out, can sue the class of people who have received money from that pyramid scheme company as part of this pyramid scheme. They can sue that entire class of people, and that entire class of people are the people who've received money from it, right? So some of them have received more money than they should, and some have received less. So you sue the class, and that gets everybody in front of the court. And then the people who have paid more than they've received can get money from the people who have received more than they've paid, and they can get it all sorted out, right? That makes sense. It's a common nexus of facts. It's a common issue of facts and law that are binding this class of plaintiffs together, or defendants together. Whereas just going to a discussion board is not actionable. There's no harm. Chillie has no interest in people who've gone to that website and who've read the things on it. It's his defamation. His defamation action is going to be against the individuals who have said the individual things. And so a class certification doesn't make sense. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. There's no way it's going to happen. It's like, I would be flabbergasted. You remember how I said that, like, I'd be absolutely amazed. It's not necessarily impossible, but it's like a 1 in a million chance that there was going to be a preliminary injunction issued against Chillie. And I was right. We're talking that same kind of thing for a class action. Like, I'm not saying it's absolutely impossible, but the odds are so far against it that it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So, don't worry about it, and let Barry McCockiner and I'm a Cunts and Clint Torres, let those guys be the class representatives and sign up to be the class representatives for Chillie. You just keep cool. Remember, they have to actually find you. Now, in my previous example, they knew all these people who got the money from the pyramid scheme company, because there's a paper trail, there's money trail. That pyramid scheme company, issued 1099s and whatever. We know the people. Their accounting records identified the people. Just to find out who has been a member of Discord doesn't even know that. Discord might be able to give you like IP information. Might. If you can actually get the court to allow you to subpoena that from Discord, which I doubt they will. I doubt the court will. Strongly doubt the court will. So, assuming Discord has the IP information, And assuming that you could figure out what to do with that IP information, you might get IP information. But good luck identifying who those people are. I mean, you don't have to give a real name or even a real phone number to Discord. Most people don't give real phone numbers. In order to comment in my Discord, you have to have a phone number registered with Discord. I do this because I don't want to moderate, and I just let Discord do all the moderation and let them figure it out. But I know that you could use a Google phone number for Discord, i.e. you can start an anonymous phone number through Google, use that to get a phone number for Discord, and all of a sudden, bada boom, bada bing, Discord thinks you have a phone number, it's verified it, and you can now post because you have a verified Discord phone number. Congratulations, right? They're not going to get any information. They're not going to be able to find you. I mean, unless you've been dumb enough to like dox yourself. Anyway, this is long enough. Long story short, Chillie's ridiculously stupid and uneducated, doesn't understand the Constitution or the laws or procedure. Discussing laws is no better. And I wouldn't waste any sleep thinking about it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.